Okay. So today our discussion will be in English because we have a very excellent person that does it. Is Phil Carter. I know Phil for a long time. He is the worldwide vice president for IDC in these connections with the ITC and the digital. And Gabriel is the responsible for IDC in Portugal and also in Spain and Italy, I think. And I think this opportunity will be very interesting because we have, as usual in this smart discussion, a very varied kind of people that are attending from the public, the private, the school, the university. I think it will be interesting to going on with this discussion. Before we go on, as you know, we have these smart discussions with more or less 2 weeks basis. And next week we are going to have with us Martin Wolf from Financial Times. He had been already with us last year, and he has published recently a very interesting book. I don't know if Philip knows it, but it's a very interesting book about the capitalism and the future of capitalism. And we are going to have next week a very interesting and challenging and smart discussion with Martin. It was supposed to be live, but unfortunately he couldn't come to Portugal, so it will be a smart discussion online like this one. So, but going to the smart discussion we have today. So as I told you, today we have two very, very high level and very well connected people that are connected to this from IDC, Phil and Gabriel. The discussion we will have, like the other discussion we have in the past 2 moments. Gabriel will have a discussion with Phil about the topics that we have put for the agenda. And in the middle, we are going to have some discussion that I will moderate with you. So I pass the word to Gabriel and to Phil. And in the meantime, we are going to put it together. Thank you very much.
Okay, Jaime, thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's always great to share some of our knowledge, our research in this group, sharing knowledge. So Jaime, I think it's a great group. And I'm also very happy to have here Phil Carter with me. He's a friend and also responsible for, as you said, Jaime, for our worldwide research, for the thought leadership research. So basically, Jaime articulates with more than 1,000 analysts and leads a team of analysts to develop new research, innovative research in IDC. So he covers a lot of topics from digital transformation to Web3, metaverse, AI. So a lot of topics. So I think we will have a lot of content, a lot of food for thought today. And basically, I think it will be better if you have some slides, but I think it will be better to have really a discussion. We use some slides, but then the idea is to break between the slides and to have some discussion. Of course, we have to be aware of the time, but let's try to discuss. And of course, we also, at least myself and for sure Phil, wants also to learn a little bit from you all here today. So, and I can start just remembering, Phil, that almost 15 years ago, we presented our vision for the third platform for cloud, mobile, and we talk about these innovation accelerators, the AI, and so on. And today, really, more than 50% of all the IT investment is in the third platform. And I think everyone now hear a lot about metaverse, about Web3, about generative AI and other topics. So what's next? So I know that you are building with our team a vision for next wave of innovation. Can you share a little bit our vision for this, and then we can discuss how we see it in Europe and how we see it in Portugal?
Sounds good. Super. Yeah, thank you, Gabriel. Appreciate that introduction. And thank you, Jaime, for having us, for having me. Really appreciate the opportunity, and a warm welcome to all of you from my side. As Jaime mentioned, my name is Philip Carter. I lead our global thought leadership research based out of Munich. in Germany, and worked with Jaime over the years on a number of different initiatives as part of our CIO advisory board and also at our CIO summits. So as Gabriel mentioned, the idea here is to talk about some of our latest research in terms of the future of technology innovation, the future of digital, but also what this means to the C-suite, to the CEO. So thinking about those trends in the context of the most senior leaders across the world. So let me share some slides to get the conversation going, and hopefully that'll give us a good basis for the conversation. Is this coming through all right, Jaime?
Yes, it's perfect, perfect.
Okay, perfect. All right. So,
sorry, Phil. Now we are seeing the two slides, the slide you are projecting and the next one.
Yes. Maybe you can put only one. I think it's better. Yes. Okay.
Let me stop presenting.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay now. Right now.
Now it's more.
Now it's more
better.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm just going to. Okay, now we'll go this way. All right. So we see 5 waves of technology innovation over the last 60, 70 years. Obviously, mainframe kicked us off in the 60s and 70s. IBM actually launched their first commercial mainframe 1963. They invested $5 billion into that product development, which is worth in today's terms more than $30 billion. So a single platform that changed the game for business based on the mainframe environment. Then that was disrupted by the client server world, and I think the disruptor there, the seminal moment, was the first consumer PC, Lisa, from Apple, launched in 1984, and that took us into the distributed world, the client server space, and then we saw the launch of the internet. If those of you can remember that, those of you who've been around who can remember that, Mosaic, the first web browser, made available 1993. Jaime, I can see you that you're nodding. Yes. You were around then as well.
Yes.
And then we fast forward 13 years, and AWS launched in 2006. That was the start of the cloud. I mean, obviously Salesforce had come into the market ahead of that, but the real seminal moment in terms of the cloud was AWS taking infrastructure to the cloud at scale. Associated with that was the launch of the iPhone, so mobility into the palms of our hands, and that was way back in June 2007. And that was the next phase of that third platform story that Gabriel talked about. And we do think that the launch of ChatGPT last year is another seminal moment on this journey in terms of the technology waves of innovation. Because what happened from the mainframe to the cloud was that we were able to consolidate data and create these platforms and communities that have given us the scale that has allowed technology to be driven to every part of society, of business, of consumer. And we've also got the data in one place so that we can start to launch these massive large language models and transformers off the back of that ChatGPT represents. So we are here. We're at this point where the cloud has brought us to a level of centralization, consolidation. We've got the data in a much more centralized place, and we are at this place where platforms and communities are delivering innovation at scale, building on the cloud story, but then the mobility piece, taking it into the palms of our hands. We do think that 2030, moving to 2030 to 2035, we're in the midst of a new transition where that data, it's a new platform effectively, but it's not a hardware platform. It's a platform based on data where the value of organizations is going to be increasingly defined by the extent to which they can leverage that data to drive intelligent automation. So the promise of AI is really on two levels. One is extreme automation, so automating business processes, IT processes, software development processes at a level that we've never seen before, but also driving intelligence into those processes to accelerate decision making. So those are the two real big opportunities associated with this next phase, this transition that we see ourselves heading towards with the launch of generative AI. As a frame of reference, ChatGPT hit 100 million users in 5 days. It took Facebook nearly 1 year to get to 1 million users. ChatGPT has already has 100 million users as of now. So the waves of acceleration of innovation are accelerating, but also the ability to get to scale is increased. And so it's increasingly about accessibility. That's been the big difference for generative AI and ChatGPT more specifically. So where does it fit? Where does generative AI fit in the broader landscape? Well, we see it at this intersection of deep learning and this natural language processing and automatic speech recognition. So it's a part of AI, but obviously we've got a much bigger market associated with AI. So we can't forget the fact that there are a lot of other things happening outside of generative AI, which are also very important for the business. But what's new about generative AI? There's 3 things very important. Number one is that these large language models are based on unsupervised or semi-supervised algorithms. So it means that there's less human intervention as part of the training of the models and the inference of the models. That's number one. The second point is that it's creating net new content. So we're creating the ability to generate this new content is obviously unique in the context of what we experienced historically. And the third piece is that it is multimodal, because everyone is talking about text, because that's the ChatGPT example, but there's audio, there's video, there's images, there's code, there's all sorts of content that can be generated from these large language models. And within that, what is important is that the ChatGPT capability is a transformer that sits on top of those large language models. So there's multiple large language models, and here you will see examples of all those different models across text, across code, across image, across speech. And obviously OpenAI is everywhere. That's why OpenAI is generating so much awareness. But ChatGPT and 4 are really just in the text category. But you can see opportunities around code, around image, around speech that are coming through as we build on these underlying foundations. The applications are broad-based, and we've started to see a lot of interest in 3 broad areas from a business standpoint. One is knowledge management, so productivity for the teams, incorporated into how you write, how you summarize, how you present. So that's a productivity one. Then you've got the second key area is around customer experience or marketing and customer engagement. So using the content to engage with customers, whether it be part of a social media campaign or as part of a language translation activity for a marketing department. And then the third one, which is really important from a technology standpoint, is the code generation. We think that the whole DevOps and software lifecycle approach is going to have to be rethought based on the fact that you can use these models to generate code in a governed fashion, for sure, but that is going to be a game changer. We're seeing, although only 10% or 11% of CIOs investing in generative AI in 2023, close to, so more than half are exploring some form of generative AI use cases. There's question marks around governance. We'll get back to that in a second. There's a focus on developer productivity, as I talked about, but there's also new areas that people are exploring, like ITSM. So in the knowledge base for service management in a service desk environment, to be able to engage with a conversational AI agent in that environment based on a broader set of knowledge and community-based content is also something that CIOs are looking at. So these are the key areas that I talked about, the use cases and some of the players within those. Knowledge management, one thing that I would just bear in mind relating to knowledge management is that we are increasingly going to see a consolidation in this space. So you're going to see Microsoft incorporating some of the PowerPoint or copywriting capabilities into their tools. You're going to see Google do the same thing. So although there are currently startups in knowledge management or conversational AI, you'll see those features effectively going to be incorporated into a lot of the broader suites as it evolves. The last thing, so actually two last things.
presentation
So is there a question, Gabriel, coming through? I didn't.
No, I don't think so. I think it was someone without the.
Okay, who's not on mute. All right.
So,
So you're not on mute.
No, feel sorry. You was someone that had the microphone. Sorry.
Okay.
You can go on.
So the four broad things to think about in terms of this technology, and this is part of the reason why everyone's a little bit concerned around the use of this technology and how quickly it's being deployed. Deepfakes, for sure. I mean, there's this, the deepfake video of Barack Obama, well known. But think about this in the context of a CEO phishing attack, because now you see these CEO phishing attacks in the form of emails where people are impersonating CEOs, getting people to transfer money to other accounts as under the directive of the CEO. Imagine that's a voicemail that's imitating a CEO's voice, which people will much more likely act upon than an email, because you get a voicemail from your CEO. It sounds exactly like your CEO, then you will transfer that money. So there is that real concern around the deep fakes and the fact that these fake images on the image side is already something that organizations are looking at. Copyright. So for example, at IDC, from an IP standpoint, we have a directive not to put any of our content that's behind our paywall into any of these generative AI tools, because then it can be accessed by other people in those bodies of information. So it means that legal has to get involved very quickly to make sure that everyone is aware as to what it means to put this information out there into the external environment. Yeah, and then the hallucinations, getting things wrong. So you ask a question, and if it's wrong and it drives a decision in the business context, that could have significant implications. And then the bias piece as well. So just as we wrap up this section, just immediate things to think about. Focus on use cases. Where are the easy ones? Try a few things out, but make sure your legal and compliance teams are involved early from the start. Understand the skills that you need for this. It is going to expand, so you start small, but you need to plan for a broader set of skills across developers, across the data scientists, across the model managers, across the user experience experts. All of those skills need to be addressed. And then the cost piece is really important, because this is not for free, right? These models take up a lot of compute. And so the contracts associated with that are going to expand over time. So what will this look like in 6 months? If you try 10 use cases and they cost $50,000 to support over the next 6 months, that could have a major impact on IT budgets. So yeah, that's the first section. Where we're going from technology innovation standpoint, this focus on the next platform or the next transition towards a data-driven AI future, driving automation, driving intelligence into every part of the business. So let me stop there and see if there are any questions. Or Gabriela, what does this mean from a Portuguese standpoint?
Yeah, so basically,
Yes, Gabriel, you make a summary, and then I try to coordinate some moderation. Yes, please.
Yeah, no, sure. So I think few comments. I think it's interesting to see these transitions, these waves. I think in the third wave we saw, and we started to talk about digital transformation. So we saw these new startups and unicorns transforming, and now with the pandemic we accelerated a lot the fourth wave, at least in Portugal and in Europe, and I think worldwide. So in Portugal, we although despite we had 10% decline in the economy in 2020, so we saw IT spending or the investment in digital growing, and in 2021 we had double digit again. So it was really an acceleration, and today basically what we see is that more than 50% of the Portuguese organizations, they already have digital transformation strategy, and they are already implementing their plans. And in fact, when we asked it, and we asked it in a survey in Portugal, how much money companies are going to spend in digital, 95% told us that they are going to or keep or increase the investment in digital transformation, and most of the IT spending now, more than 50% are now going to transform the business. So I think the discussion with this new wave and with this generative AI is really what comes next. So everybody was thinking about digital transformation a few years ago, and now what's next? So it's a new normal, and how it will accelerate. I think this is really the questions we have and we discuss with our clients in Portugal and in Europe in general.
Okay, we don't have here anyone that wants to make any question, but I will ask someone to put that. João Ramos was a former journalist in Express, and as I know, he's writing a book on these topics. João, do you want to make any comment, any question to Phil? I don't know if you have interviewed Phil in the past. I don't know.
Yes, I guess so. Yeah.
Okay, Phil, João Ramos interviewed you some years ago. Okay, so please, João, make any question or topics, and then I'll pass to other people. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Phil, and thank you, Gabriel, for these very interesting topics. And well, it seems that this generative AI is something that revolutionized the way how you think technology, and wake up us to another possibilities, because it creates lots of new possibilities to the companies and for the users. I suppose that one question that many people are thinking is if the people must act now and move quickly to this technology versus to be late to adoption of this technology. And my first question is, what are the right moments to go to this new technology?
Okay. It's okay, João?
Okay.
No.
For my first question, thank you.
Okay. No, Phil, if you don't mind, we put 2 or 3 questions, okay, so that it's more crowded. We have here Belmiro Torrescoto, that is working in a very important Portuguese company. He's also working in Romania and also in Portugal. Belmiro, do you want to make any question, please?
Yes, thank you, Jaime. Well, Phil, thank you for your excellent shortage exposition. It was very synthetic and very profound also. But I would like you to stress a little bit more on the unsupervised concept of artificial intelligence. I mean, how much is unsupervised the artificial intelligence mechanisms in the different platforms, so that we should not be in fear of a matrix world, I mean, where the machine takes over the human and we might be referees of the machines. So can we not expect the machine intelligence to overtake our control?
Phil and Gabriel, a final question, and then we pass to you. Jorge Gomes, that is a teacher in ISEC, that is a well-known institution in Portugal. Jorge, please.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. So if we understood correctly, theoretically, we could have somebody called Philip Carter and Gabriel in a few years' time with us doing these smart discussions, and you are all artificial intelligence. So what kind of issues would that raise when we are, when we are having this smart discussion with machines or artificial intelligence? Thank you.
Okay, sorry, Phil. And finally, and this is the final one, we have with us one lady that wants also to put a question. Besma, please. And this is the final one because the other topic, please. Besma, are you listening, please? Besma, do you want to make a question or not? Okay, I don't think she put the hand on.
She's mute.
Okay.
She's mute. She's mute.
Yes. Maybe later on. Yes, Phil, please, and Gabriel, please.
All right, yeah, so great questions. I love this because it turns it into a conversation, and we all learn from the adventure that we embark on. So the first question from Jao, which was, when should organizations start this? When should they try this, and should organizations think about being early adopters or late adopters? I think the answer to that is directly linked to digital maturity in my mind. So if you are a digital pioneer, if you are a digital organization that has the capabilities, that has the skill sets, that has a good sense of how much this is going to cost, you've got the governance structures in place around analytics and AI in general, then the next step towards generative AI is that much easier. So if I'm, BBVA Bank in Spain, or one of these organizations that have made a lot of investments into digital, then now is the right time to take the next step. If you are an oil and gas company that is very early on the journey towards digital, and you don't really know the use cases, then it's less likely to be something that you can deliver immediate impact with, and you're probably going to fall into some traps around some of the governance issues, security, deepfakes, the IP issues that we talked about. So that's the first part of the answer. The second part of the answer is that the key difference with this form of AI, as compared to what we've seen in the past, is the accessibility. So everyone, all of us, I'm hoping some of you have tried ChatGPT, but that's the difference, right? So now we see this in action. We can see it quickly delivering the outcomes. So I would also highlight the fact that if in your organizations you try and stop this from happening, it's an unstoppable train. So people will be playing around with it. They will be attempting to do things with it. And I would say embrace the innovation, capture it, and then highlight it and reuse it across the different organizations, but the different business units, but in a governed fashion. So look at digital maturity, but then also find the pockets of people who are trying this and embrace it and bring it into the frame. So Gabriel, I'm not sure if you want to add to that, or Jao, if that answers the question.
Yeah, I can just add that we are advising some European and Portuguese companies to really start working. So I think there is 2 or 3 phases. So one is when you start piloting and trying to understand. Another is when you start to launch to market. Another is when you scale with new products and new services. So I think it's what we are advising at the global level is really to start trying. But of course, when you want to move forward, you have to have what you said, Phil, to have this governance and all these materials to deal with the technology. So
Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed. Jao, does that answer your question?
Não, pá, depois tem que ser. Estou a ouvir aqui uma conferência de uns gajos do IDC.
Sorry, we have here someone. Okay, please. Sometimes some people don't have the microphone. Okay, please go on.
Very good. Now, I just wanted to check with Jao if that
Yes,
answers the
thank
question.
you. Yeah,
Oh, excellent.
I agree with.
João, is it okay?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think he's good.
Yeah.
All right.
I have more questions, but later maybe.
Okay, maybe later in
If you
the
have
second
time.
round. Okay.
Sounds good. We've also got more content if we want to go through that, Jaime, but let's answer these other questions. So I really like the second question around unsupervised models, because I think it's very relevant, and I want to make it clear that our view is that there should never be the AI model without the human. So we always encourage companies to have a human in the loop as much as possible, and as a baseline to have at least one individual involved with the model creation, the model management, and the model training. I think the point that I wanted to make, though, was that the difference with these new large language models is that they can be unsupervised, which allows them to be trained and inferred at scale without human intervention. It's not something that we would recommend, but there should always be a human in the loop. But the point is that they can be, and they can deliver interesting results even without the human intervention. I think what the initial launch of these services have shown, though, is that there are still major issues with the outcomes or the results from some of the models when they are run. So the more you have that human input into the model creation and management, the better off you're going to be. So our view is that it's not replacement of people, it's augmentation of people so that they can focus on the higher value activities, because most data scientists are spending the majority of their time on data preparation, administration, the model management, as opposed to the actual analysis of the data and the tweaking of the models to deliver the more accurate results. And the idea is to drive them into that higher value added activities. And I think that leads into the third question, which I think we can just take at this point, Jaime, which is another great question, which is basically, Gabriel, you and I are going to be replaced on the next call. We're not going to have our jobs, and this will be so. Jorge, thanks for that. Appreciate the vote of confidence. No, but I think I don't agree with that. Basically, I think there will be a situation where there will be voices and images which will come through in this form, but what is critical is the context, and what is clear is that difference between narrow AI versus wide AI. And what is clear is that at this stage there is only one use case, or maybe one plus one use case that can be addressed by one model. You can't have one model doing multiple different things and acting as a human bot effectively in this sort of environment. So the missing piece is the context, which is what the human brings into the loop. And for the foreseeable future, I don't see that changing. I think that as an analyst, for example, these capabilities will help with analysis, will help with summarization, will help with forecasting, will help with providing a starting point for a document even, but it's not going to replace the human. It'll take us in the right direction in terms of augmenting skills. So you will have to deal with us for the foreseeable future, Jorge. Unfortunately, does that help to answer the question in terms of where the context and the multi-use case approach?
Okay, Philip, I think you can go now to the second part of the discussion, then we could have another question. Okay, do you think so, Gabriel?
All right. You're on mute, Gabriel. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, I'm happy. I don't know if Jorge was going to say something, but yeah, let's go to the second part. I think it's also interesting because really to
yes, and then we have another discussion. Okay.
Sounds good. All right. So as Gabriel talked about, the third platform was a concept that we defined some time ago, but that was the technology story. The business story was digital transformation. The problem with digital transformation was that it meant different things to different people. To every industry, it was a different story. And we think that moving forward, the digital journey continues. So what comes after digital transformation? Well, the digital journey continues, but the focus is running the digital business. It's a different approach to this digital story. So in the past, we had 2 chapters of digital transformation. The first one was around experimenting with that IoT or mobile or cloud use case, and generating some interesting results, but not getting to scale. The second chapter was, okay, we've got to show value from those investments in digital. And we're exiting that chapter and focusing on running a digital business where the proportion of revenues from digital expands dramatically. So we think that our prediction is that by 2026, 40% of the total revenue of the G2000 will come from digital product services and experiences. So that is the digital business in action. But it's not just those product services and experiences, it's also the processes that you can see on the left-hand side. So increasingly, it's that automation story, that intelligence story being brought into the internal processes so that the enterprise IT is aggressively modernized to a much more intelligent core fed with data from internal processes, but also external processes to redefine business processes in real time. But this comes back to Giles' question around when to start on any of these new initiatives. And the answer is industry specific. So on this journey, the more B2B industries like mining, oil and gas, agriculture are a lot far behind the rest of the industry. So this context is very important. In the middle, you see the laggard B2C industries like public sector, healthcare to a certain extent, but also some of the more proactive or more mature B2B industries like utilities, automotive, insurance even. But then on the far right, the more mature industries are retail banking, financial services, gaming. These are the organizations that are already in that digital first world and running a digital business. We're seeing new digital business models. What does this mean in terms of those digital business models? Well, it's making new money through those digital channels. It's setting up those new digital channels, and it's creating new assets, new digital assets along these 3 broad areas. I'm in the interest of time, I just want to move ahead to an example just to make it clear what do we mean by these digital business models. So Lego, as an example, 10 years ago, their primary route to market was Toys R Us, right? That was a physical channel, a physical retail channel that they sold their toys through. Now their #1 channel is Amazon, and they're also building up a direct-to-consumer engagement to sell subscriptions as well. So you can buy a Lego box every week and subscribe to it, and that way they engage with customers more directly. But then they're also setting up Lego in the metaverse, multi-billion-dollar investment with Sony and Epic Games as they monetize new digital assets in the metaverse. They're looking to triple their digital workforce over the next 5 years. And this is the future for Lego. And this is the digital business that we're talking about. But as I mentioned, it looks very different by industry, and every business model looks different in each of those industries. So manufacturing, it's more about as a service and value-added data services, whereas in telecommunications, it's more about IP and API monetization. So every industry has got a different type of digital business model. Anyway, so that's the future of digital, the move away from transforming towards scaling that digital business. And the technologies that were used to transform as part of that first phase are not necessarily the same technologies that are going to be used to run or scale that digital business. Anyway, so that's the second. Let me stop there and see if there are any more questions at this point.
I don't know if Gabriel wants to make a brief summary towards Portugal, and then we pass to the question, okay?
No, well, I can just add, and we can go to the questions because I think it's most interesting. But I think we see the same maturity by industries in Portugal and in Europe. So we see really the financial sector, the telcos, also the utilities with more mature, and the others less mature. But where we are not seeing yet is these new business models being adopted by most of the sector. So it's something that we are seeing at worldwide level, but not seeing in many Portuguese companies. So just a comment, but let's go to the.
Okay, we have Besma that wanted to make a question before. Besma, can you make now your question, please?
Yes, thank you, James. Thank you, Philippe. Thank you, everyone.
We are not seeing you or only listening. Okay, but no
Yes,
problem.
I'm driving. You don't want to
Okay,
see
no
me, but
problem, no problem. Okay.
I couldn't miss this session because I'm passionate about tech and about digital. Thank you very much for sharing all these insights. And my question that I was planning to ask in the first session is actually very well positioned now because I was going to talk about digital transformation.
Yes.
And we've been talking about digital transformation for the past 15, 20 years, but we can see that there is a huge divide between those who actually made it real and those who only still talk about it in PowerPoint. And my question was going to be like, how do you see this evolving? And I was very happy to see that slide with the different maturity level, talking about the public sector, the private, the large, the small companies by sectors. Do you see, so here is my question, do you see that this step, which is clearly a milestone in terms of tech development, is this going to increase the divide between those who actually managed to transform the business and go digital and those who didn't? Or is this going to be rather an opportunity for those who didn't do it in the first wave to actually leapfrog? And like when we talk about telco in the past, we used to talk about someone leapfrogging from 2G straight to 4G or to 5G even. Is there an opportunity? And if yes, which sectors or private and public, where do you see this mostly happening if there is an opportunity there?
Okay,
Thank you
very much, Besma. I don't know if Mari Franco, that usually participates in these smart discussions and also very involved in IT and digital. Mari, do you want to make any question, please?
Okay, thank you for inviting me, Jaime. Thank you for the presentation and the comments from Gabriel. Maybe I will raise two questions, which in they are contradictory anyway. But the first one is related to the timetable of the digital transformation. I make a comment, and then if you think it's useful, you can make a comment instead of a real question. The comment is this: I think is a mistake to delay any jump in digital transformation in any time. If we take now the case of AI, we must think AI is already on the move for many years, and with ChatGPT we have a big wave on AI attention. Then if we jump now to integrate AI in our organization, we are late because we are not innovators. We can be, but we will not be the pioneers. We will go following the others. Then the question of timing, I think in the European society or in Portuguese society, is a very important thing, because we always believe one day we will arrive there, and it's true, but too late we lose a lot of value. That's the first point. The second point is related to AI itself, which is a topic which I am very interested in and more. I was working on this topic for AI in education, but I see this now in a larger way. And there are two aspects, maybe you can enlighten us in some way. One is about the ethics in AI. There is now a regulation going on. European Union launched yesterday the Algorithm Transparency Center, And there are many people which are focused now on the regulation of AI, which require a strong participation of different institutions and companies. And the other aspect related to that is to the, I don't know if you have anything on that, it's about XAI, explained AI, where the responsibles for AI development need to work in AI in such a way which can be explained for a non-AI expert, which require now a lot of techniques. I'm not talking now about regulation, but about the way how the AI is developed. Then these two aspects, for one side, I believe we need to go fast and all together. And the second thing is we need to follow this with some kind of regulation and some kind of technique in the AI development to be explained, to develop XAI and not, I think XAI will be the future of AI. Then that's my two comments. Thank you.
I don't know if João wants to make another question. João, please, before we pass to Phil and Gabriel.
So thank you, Jaime. So I have a question that is related with Mario also talked about. And my question is related with this moment that seems that you are in a digital Wild West, who even we take some technologies like blockchain that sometimes it's possible to have cybercrime more easily. My question is it possible to have more regulatory efforts in this area without killing this new technology? And also even related with the AI, I suppose that you need also that some laws, but how the laws, even in European Union, could regulate this technology without protecting the people, but without killing the development of the business.
Okay, João. Phil, we have here in the chat also two questions that I can summarize about the digital divide. So the idea is that, do you think that in the future it will be possible to try to have some new waves of fighting against the digital divide between the developing world, the developed world? What can we do in Africa? So if you can also comment on that, I think it would be interesting.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. We've got lots to get through, Gabriel. Are you confident?
Yes. Phil, you can start. But then I can add some comments regarding how we are seeing the why the Portuguese organizations are not moving forward and some consideration. But go ahead, Phil. And
okay. All right. I really liked Besma's first question on this digital leapfrog and the extent to which that's possible. And I'm glad that you were following the slides even from your car, Besma, because, well, and I hope it didn't distract you too much from the driving. But my answer to that is no. I don't think that you can leapfrog in digital. I think you can leapfrog on technology, but I fundamentally believe that digital transformation is a business topic. So it should be driven by the business. It should be driven by the CEO. The CIO is the orchestrator, and therefore it's a journey which there's never an end point. So this notion of leapfrogging is, you can't equate the 2G to 4G story to digital transformation because it is a step-by-step journey. You can accelerate and you can adopt the technologies somewhat quicker, but it has to be use case first, outcomes and metrics associated with those use cases linked to the business drivers. So that's the first thing. The second one from Mario around the timetable and the extent to which we should just jump into this. with everything, without questioning anything, I also think we have to be conscious of the fact that with any new emerging technology, metaverse, blockchain, people spend a lot of money and didn't deliver the outcomes. So I think generative AI, to my point at the beginning, we do see this as a seminal moment in the industry. It is a transition because it is a game changer. And therefore, I do recommend that you start quickly, but don't start big. Start small because you can, right? It's accessible. You can attend different use cases. You can deliver the outcomes in marketing, in sales, productivity, in logistics. You can find different use cases. So the timetable absolutely accelerate it, but don't think that you have to do a massive transformation around AI in order to get ahead, because I think the answer is very much in terms of the quick wins. And then, this notion of ethics is a big thing for me, for AI ethics. It's something I believe in wholeheartedly. I think that the AI Act from the European Union is going to have as much of an impact on the market as GDPR did in terms of data protection, because the penalties associated with the breach around the non-conforming with the AI Act are as significant as GDPR, if not more. So, and there's a big part of that responsible AI built into the Act. And I do think that that'll set the course for the future around AI adoption in terms of explainability, in terms of responsibility, in terms of taking the black box out of AI and making sure that this is transparent to the users. But to the last question, to Giles' question on the regulatory environment, it needs to move faster. The market, the technology advancements continue to outpace the regulatory change or the regulatory impact. So that is something that just needs to accelerate in order for society to remain stable, because that's what's most important as we make these technology innovation advancements, that the regulations keep up so that we don't destabilize the society. Gabriel, over to you.
Yeah, no, just one comment regarding the leapfrog, and especially for the Portuguese organization. So what we see is really, when we talk about digital transformation and what's next about the automation, it's really about scale. So, and as Phil was talking, it's not about using the technology, it's really about automating and scaling it up. So we need really to have organizations that are global organizations to really benefit from this automation and from this scale. And I think the real challenge here is not really about the tech adoption, but is really about going global and making sure that we can scale. And so I think this is really the big challenge for Portuguese organizations. And regarding regulation, so it's clear that in Europe, so regulation is for the citizens, in US is for the companies, and in China is for the government. And I think we really need a balance to have a more so a regulation that can foster innovation. And we see, and we have been doing some work in IDC with the not only the Portuguese, but with the Portuguese startup ecosystem. And really, if you create conditions to have the new companies really disrupting, and of course, then they will have to deal with the regulations. But if you create conditions for these startups to build up and then have the right regulations, could be an option, a way to go forward in Europe to keep the regulation in the big for the big companies, but create conditions for small ones to thrive and to grow.
Okay, so Gabriel, I think, and Phil, we can pass to the final topic. That I think you have a final topic, and then we make a close with some regard concerning the questions in the chat. I will try to summarize them and eventually any question, please.
Sure. So are we not at the end of the hour? Are people going to have to drop off, or do we just carry on?
Yes.
If we have 5 minutes just to go through the last slides and then close.
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. And then we'll make a final comment on that. Okay.
Okay, sounds good. So final
Yes.
section, which is on the CEO mandates for 2023. This is based on our CEO study that we've just conducted across the world. Close to 400 CEOs that we spoke to. And we've identified 5 key things that we think CEOs should focus on. The first one, in this risk environment, the choppy environment, it's all about redefining VUCA. Jaime, I hope you know what VUCA is, what it stands for.
Yes, of course. Volatile, uncertain. Yes, of course.
Okay.
Oh, we know that for a long time. Yes, thank you.
Very good, very good. So it's an old military term, and we know this, right? We know it's volatile, we know it's uncertain, we know it's complex, we know it's ambiguous, but what do we do about it? And because all these risks that we've talked about are these based on the interviews that we did, they are there. We can't get away from it. And it's come up in some of the conversations already. But the overarching risk that we've heard from CEOs based on the survey is economic pressure. And so the redefinition of VUCA is to highlight where you have that volatility is to stay true to your vision, and where you have the uncertainty is to understand what really matters to your organization, where there's complexity to explain with clarity what needs to be done, and where there's ambiguity is to respond with agility as an organization. So that's the new VUCA: vision, understanding, clarity, and agility to deal with that uncertainty, that choppiness in the market. And the key technologies that are going to drive that is the data, the decision velocity that we talked about, that the data as a product, these new capabilities that can really drive end-to-end visibility across the operations. The second mandate is about investing to win. So what is really interesting is that the word of the year for the CEO is growth. And you might think, okay, what is that? How does that come about? And the answer to that is, the question was, what is the word that most reflects what your organization needs to focus on to thrive in 2023? So the key word there is thrive. And if you're a CEO and you can show growth in this environment, you will stand out. You will get more investors. Your employees will be happier. You will be able to drive initiatives better, and you'll come out the other side in a better position. What's also very interesting is that the second most popular word is technology. And you can see that close to 90% of CEOs are looking to sustain or increase their tech investments. The number one focus for those technology initiatives is revenue generating activities. So that's driving top line growth. And they want to increase spend increasingly on digital business, which is what we talked about earlier. So you might ask the question, why? Well, if you look at these global organizations, they're seeing growth in the digital business in amongst this difficult environment. So Bank of America, Nike, Kroger's a massive retailer looking to double its digital business by the end of 2023. So the notion of using technology to drive growth across the digital business and the broader organization is the answer here. And the key technology there is the new customer experience, this what we call the customer data engine to deliver that top line growth. The third mandate is around building trust. The number one prioritized set of technologies for the CEO in 2023, security, risk, and compliance. I saw those questions coming up in the chat around security. This is a massive topic for the CEO. We asked CIOs, which part of the budget will you not cut no matter what in 2023? And the top category was security. So these are the basis for our future of trust framework. So foundational and compulsory elements of the future of trust framework. But what we do see also moving forward is ESG and privacy as strategic elements of this, focusing on that internal governance, but also externally into ecosystems and driving commerce across those ecosystems to deliver trusted outcomes. That is the currency to operate a digital business, is your ability to deliver trust across those ecosystems. The fourth mandate is about reskilling and augmentation. So last year, what organizations were increasingly doing was hiring from the market or using external service providers. This year, it's moving more towards, as you can see here, internal strategies. reskilling the existing workforce, or automation as another tactic to close the skills gap. This is across all organizations a shift, a massive shift in terms of the talent market. So this is a framework that we have developed for skills to help your organizations think about IT skills, digital business skills, human skills, leadership skills. You need to develop a skills taxonomy to think about how you can develop the capabilities across all these categories so that you can fill the gap when you need a cloud security expert, when you need that data scientist, that you can ensure that you've got that talent pool to support the digital business longer term. But linked to this is the need to augment the workforce with automation. So this is our automation framework, which needs to be married to the skills framework to deliver automation across these business processes over here, development, software development, and IT operations. Those three areas need to have automation incorporated so that you can allow that developer to focus on higher value added activities, or that data scientist, or that user experience as part of that augmentation story that we talked about earlier. But in order to do that, you need an architecture, to Gabriel's point earlier, around scale. That it's about the tech to scale the digital business. And the key person who we think is going to orchestrate the budgets, the architectures, and the stakeholders in order to scale that organization is the CIO. Now, what is interesting is that the word of the year for the CIO is efficiency. We talked about growth for the CEO, but for the CIO, the word of the year is efficiency. And that's linked to these spiraling cloud costs that we're seeing. So organizations have overspent on cloud. 64% of CIOs are saying they're spending more on cloud than they originally budgeted. And that's causing major question marks for the CIO as it relates to the CFO, the procurement, and the CEO. So we need optimized cloud investment strategies to enable that technology architecture to scale. And as part of that, what we're seeing is that the CEO is expecting the CIO to focus more on outcomes, agility, and new revenue streams over the next 2 years. And what is also interesting is that close to 60% of CIOs are now reporting into the CEO, which 10 years ago was not the case. They were reporting to the CFO or the CEO, or the COO. So we think the CIO needs to step up, drive those conversations with the C-suites, with the CEO, to help redefine VUCA with that accelerated decision velocity, to invest to win with that customer data engine, building trust with those governed outcomes, reskilling and augmenting with a new automation strategy, and putting in place that tech to scale based on those optimized cloud investments. So that is a super quick run through the 5 CEO mandates. That's something to take away from the session, which is all about the recommendations to drive forward into 2023. So let's see if we've got any final questions, Jaime, based on that.
Yes. Okay. Anyone has any final question concerning these topics that were put by Phil? I don't know if Paulo Ribeiro, do you want to make any comment, any question? No.
Sorry, Jaime. I'm hearing you. But I have no questions for the moment, but thank you for the great session and presentation.
Yes, okay. It was everything. I don't know if Besma, that was very interested in these topics. Do you want to make any question? Again, Besma, any comment?
James, thank you. I think I want to have a one-on-one session with Philip. There's so many questions. This is something that I'm super fascinated about. And thank you very much for sharing all this with us. I'm not sure if you're going to share the slide. That would be great, by the way. Highly appreciate it.
I think we have authorization from Philip and Gabriel to share in the group, right? Gabriel.
Absolutely, Jaime. But then you need to take us out for a meal in Lisbon the next time I'm there. That's
yes, of course. I don't know,
Gabriel,
when will Phil come again to Lisbon so that we can organize a session?
Yeah, for sure. Next year he'll be here
next year.
again.
Okay,
for the
okay.
time.
Look forward to that. I look
Yes,
forward.
Phil, he was very important about that. Okay, I don't know if anyone else have any more question. We have already 10 minutes after the time was scheduled. So if you don't, I ask Gabriel to close the session. Phil, it was very, very good. You are in fact very, very good, and it was very interesting. Okay, thank you very much. Please,
Thank you,
Gabriel.
Jaime. Thanks a lot. Over to you, Gabriel. And thanks to all the questions. I've learned a lot today as well from the Portuguese.
Okay, thank you. It was a perfect. Okay.
No, thank you, Jaime, and all of you. So I think this group created by Jaime it's a great initiative to share knowledge and share quickly and fast, because really these new times are really challenging in terms of updating the technology innovation and the impact on business. So I think it was great, as Jaime told, and also Phil, we are going to share the slides, and we are also available for any other questions. So I'm available here in Portugal, and we'll do the bridge with Phil and our more than 1,300 analysts we have. So it's great to have these 1,300 analysts, so we can create these great slides, and Phil is coordinating a lot of them. So it was great to have you here, Phil. Next time for sure in Lisbon. So thank you very much, all of you, and keeping in touch. And thank you, Jaime, again.
And Gabriel, I ask you to share the presentation, okay? If you don't mind, I think it's better.
Yeah, I will share in the group.
You do that, okay? It comes directly from the Power, okay? Thank you very much, Phil. Have a nice week.
Have a good evening.
And we'll be in touch, okay?
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.